What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bandwagon Hopping with Sherm. We got a special episode for you today. Jharen stopping by to talk about the Colts. Let's get to it. Stay tuned. A common expression is where there's smoke, there's fire. But is that actually true? Is there always fire behind smoke? Or can the smoke sometimes just be a mirage? Now, part of the reason why I bring this up is because the NBA trade deadline is fast approaching, just under 2 weeks from now. And there's been so many rumors, so much smoke just percolating around the air. But sometimes I just want to take a step back and see, is there actually fire? Or are they just rumors? Or are they just mirages? So I want to look at some of the rumors that have been going around in the league. First up, Sacramento Kings forward Harrison Barnes. He's been in so many trade talks, so many trade discussions, from teams like the Boston Celtics, Denver Nuggets, the Miami Heat. The problem with this, though, is it just doesn't make sense for Sacramento to trade Harrison Barnes. They just signed him to a $20 million extension. I think they view him as a valuable veteran leader and presence in the locker room. And Sacramento is one of those teams who I don't think they're going to be that aggressive when it comes to the trade deadline. I think they just want to sit and just lie in wait. And when you look at Harrison Barnes, he himself has not really come out and talked about how he wants to be traded. From all his comments and all his appearances and interviews, he actually seems like he's content in Sacramento. So he's not requesting a trade. And the Kings actually like what he brings to the table, what he brings to the organization. It doesn't really make sense to trade him. But then you look in Houston, they're expected to have a fire sale. You look at players like Victor Oladipo, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker. There's actually some fire behind that smoke. Victor Oladipo, for one, he's not exactly at the same level that he was in his All-NBA season. But that just comes to Houston. They have to make a decision. Do we let him walk for nothing in free agency, which he's going to walk? Do they let him walk for nothing in free agency? Or do they just try to trade him to a team and get a valuable piece in return? Just whatever they can. I think Victor Oladipo is a name to watch out for. Look at PJ Tucker. There's been a report that came out recently that says he's not going to be with the team anymore. And he's been frustrated with the team. There's some fire behind that. I think PJ Tucker is one of the most likely players to be traded by the deadline. And you look at his contract, it's pretty cheap, only $7 million. He could easily fit on a team like the Boston Celtics. And yes, I am bringing up the Boston Celtics a lot because they're one of my favorite teams, but beyond that, I mean, he's a great fit for the Celtics. Even a team like the Nets. Now, I'd be hard-pressed to believe that Houston would trade with the Nets again, especially when the Nets don't really have that many valuable assets anymore. But a team like the Nets, a team like the Celtics, even a team like the Nuggets, the Heat, a whole bunch of teams. Even like the Hornets, low-key. The Hornets, they might be a little frisky at the trade deadline because they are in playoff contention. And PJ Tucker, just watch out for the Hornets. That's all I'm going to say. There's so many teams in the NBA that would be interested in PJ Tucker. I think there's fire behind that smoke. Then you look at guys like Andre Drummond and LaMarcus Aldridge, other guys who have, the teams have basically told them, just hold out, we're not going to play you, we're going to try to trade you. Now the problem with those two players is their contracts are too expensive. So it's going to be hard for playoff caliber teams to really give up the amount of assets that would appease both sides of the story. So I think those players are going to be buyout candidates, if anything more than that. I don't really think there's fire behind that smoke. I think it's just mirage in terms of trade rumors. Because really, what team could LaMarcus Aldridge go to or Andre Drummond? You've heard teams like the Knicks, okay, maybe, but I don't think that would, whet anybody's appetite. Or you look at a team like the Raptors, okay, but the Raptors don't really have that much salary. It would basically have to be Norman Powell going back. And Norman Powell has been elite for the Raptors this season. He's been like their second or third best player. I don't see them trading Norman Powell. So I think Andre Drummond and LaMarcus Aldridge, I think they're more buyout candidates than anything. You really have to kind of bridge the gap between what makes sense for one side and what makes sense for the other side. That's the hardest part when it comes to trades and trade rumors in general. Whenever you're just thinking about trade rumors, you always have to think, would it make sense for both sides? And you always have to make sure there's actual fire behind the smoke. We're gonna get to Jharen. He's gonna talk about the Colts. Stay tuned, man. What's up, everybody? We're here with Jharen. How you doing, man? Appreciate you coming on.
What's up? What's up? Good to be here.
So I just want to talk to you about the Indianapolis Colts today. They're such an intriguing team to me because they always seem like they're a dark horse Super Bowl contender. But then every year they always fall short. And they're always like just one piece away. Before they were just missing, kind of an offensive line. Now they're kind of missing a quarterback. Now, they traded for a quarterback in the offseason, Carson Wentz, former number 2 overall pick, to kind of solve that problem. What do you think about that trade? How do you think Wentz is going to fit into the team?
All right. So listen. I feel like Carson Wentz, he's got the tools. He's got everything he needs in Indianapolis. He got an offensive line. He got a defense. That stuff he ain't having with the Eagles. I feel like he's got everything he needs to succeed. So I think he can do good. I think he will do fine. But there is always those questions because of how last season transpired. But if there is any chance that he would do fine, I think the only team he would do fine with is the Colts.
Of course, he's, reuniting with his old offensive coordinator, who's now head coach in Indianapolis, Frank Reich. So maybe that'll help him out as well. But I also want to ask you about kind of Jacoby Brissett, because as a Patriots fan, Jacoby used to be a backup in New England, and he seemed like he was having success the one season where he was starting. But it's like the Colts just gave up on him, and now he's a free agent. What do you think? Like, what happened to Jacoby?
Well, I mean, he had a whole season basically to prove that he was that guy. He had some good games and he had some bad games. And I think that's kind of what sealed it for him, is the fact that he was too up and down and too inconsistent. And honestly, just watching from him, I never saw like that guy, like that superstar potential. So I do feel like if there was other options, get those other options. But if he would have been the starter next year, I would have been like, okay, well, let's see what Frank Reich can do.
Now, one of the bright spots for this team has been Jonathan Taylor. He kind of stepped up. He was a rookie last year. He stepped up once Marlon Mack got injured, and he balled out, especially towards the end of the season. That's a bad thing for me because he cost me my fantasy championship. Like out of nowhere, he was dropping like 40 and 50-point games. But anyways, I have some hard feelings towards it, but whatever, man. It is what it is. But how do you think, Taylor is going to perform in his second season now that he's officially become the starter running back?
Honestly, I think he'll be that guy. I think he'll be at least 1,000-yard rusher and maybe a Pro Bowl chance, because a whole year with this offensive line does wonders. And he was just like an option back, running back by committee for a lot of the year. But I think with this set standing of him being the first down, second down back, maybe Nyheim Hines coming out a few times on third down or swing passes, I think it'll be really beneficial for him, and he'll break out to hopefully a superstar.
Yeah, man. Speaking of fantasy, I had Naheem Hines for a couple weeks. He was clutch for me, for sure.
Man, I had Derek Carr. He did me so dirty a couple games. I know about fantasy, man.
I got you, man. I got you. So when I look at the Colts, one of the biggest question marks for me is kind of their wide receiver. They pass a lot to their tight ends, but their wide receivers to me are kind of, just mid. And T.Y. Hilton, he's a veteran, but he's a free agent this offseason. And they have some young guys who are still improving, like Michael Pittman Jr. Do you think the wide receiver core is good enough? Do you think they should try to solve that? Maybe in the draft, maybe in free agency with like Will Fuller, Juju. They have a lot of cap space. What do you think?
I feel like another receiver would really do good for everybody. I feel like if we had like maybe an Allen Robinson, a Will Fuller, Kenny Galladay type player, somebody to just open things up. Hopefully we can re-sign T.Y. I feel like he would re-sign if we gave him the money. And then, 3 receivers, Carson Wentz can start slinging it to them. Maybe we get a tight end and bam, we got a high-powered offense.
Now the Colts have the 21st pick in the first round of this year's draft. What do you think they should target? What are the needs for this team in the draft?
Honestly, I would target another offensive line. As we've seen with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, you can never have too many members that can block. So hopefully we can target offensive line. Injuries happen. It can be time to improve. Other than that, I don't see that we have like a gaping hole in our team that we just really need to figure out.
What about the secondary?
Our secondary is pretty good. We got Julian Blackmon. Malik Hooker is a free agent. He might not stay with us. But, I think our secondary is pretty good. Of course, Kenny Moore, too.
Respectable. Now, this is just one of my last questions. It's just a personal favorite of mine. Your kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship. I just love kicking in general. Like in the NFL, that's one of my favorite things. For just a weird thing that I really enjoy. But Rodrigo is like a really good young kicker. He had an excellent rookie season. Do you think he's already a top 5 kicker in the league?
Hey, respect the specs. I don't know if he's top 5 yet. He's got ways to go. He was just a rookie. But honestly, Justin Tucker looked like that guy his rookie season. I feel like he can be a top 5 kicker in a few years. It's not too many that are better than him. He had a great season. He was real accurate. I'm not going to say he's a top 5 out of respect for the guys ahead of him, but I'm going to say next year, maybe he gets that top 5 spot.
All right, man. He's top 5 in my books. That's all I'm saying. The kicking was trash this year, man.
Hey, we got some guys, Justin Tucker, Young Ho, Harrison Butker. We got some guys out here.
Mason Crosby and Will Lutz as well. But the old heads, man, they're old heads. They're phasing out. We got a new generation of kickers coming in, man.
We do got a new generation. He might be that guy in the new generation.
For sure. I appreciate you taking the time coming on to talk about the Colts. I'm going to catch you later, man.
All right, man. Lakers in 5, Colts Nation. You know the vibes.
Nah, we good. We're not talking about the Lakers like that. No, thank you.
All right, man.
Well, you already know what it is. This has been another episode of Bandwagon Hopping. Appreciate you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Don't forget to send me your mailbag questions as well. I'm thinking about getting to that, within the next 2 episodes. So there's an email address. Leave something in the comments, whatever, man. This is Bandwagon Hopping. I'm signing off. Till next week. Peace out, bro.